Hi everyone, and today we have another first impression. Today we are going to be playing with the Huda Beauty, what is this called? Emerald Obsession palette, and it looks like this. It's got a lot of really nice green shimmery shades and mattes, and it's also got like a brown neutral shade, and the one that I'm the most drawn to is this little color down here. It's like a mint green, and I just think it looks so pretty, so I'm very excited to play with this palette. Now, I did not plan on picking up any of these little mini palettes until I saw Lethal Kitten do a review on this the other day. I will leave her channel up here. She is absolutely stunning, and she's so good with eye makeup, so I would highly recommend you check out her channel. She's amazing. So yeah, I saw her do a look with this, and then I went to Sephora the next day, still not really thinking about picking it up, and then I see it in store in front of me, and it is just the most beautiful palette. I will see if I can get a close-up to show you guys. So here's the palette up close. This is probably the best color representation I can find for you. Let's see if I turn up the lights. Nope, that's too bright. Yeah, so as you can see, it's a gorgeous color scheme. I'm super excited to play with this. I do have a little bit of experience with these mini palettes. I do have her Mauve Obsessions that I think I've used in a couple of videos, and I also used to have the, whatever that all colorful one is called, Electric Obsessions maybe? I don't know, but that one was really nice, and then I somehow managed to drop it on the floor and the whole thing shattered, so I don't have that one anymore, and I really wish I did because that one was beautiful. So I'm going to start off by swatching these, and I'm going to do it the way that I always do it. I'm just going to go by rows, so we're going to do 1, 2, 3. And it is a little bit hard to get my finger into these because the pans are very small. So first impression on these swatches, I will say that this formula feels to be a lot more tightly pressed into the pan than the other little ones I have. I don't know if that's just like an inconsistency or what, but I didn't feel like the shimmers were as crumbly as they are in some of the other palettes, but they were also kind of hard to like get onto my finger. Again, that could be just because the palette is really small and it's tough to really get my finger in there, but I'm excited to see how they perform on the eyes, and I think they're going to look really, really beautiful sprayed and just foiled. So I think what I want to do is I want to at least try the mint shade, so let me just start by priming my eyes real quick. Also, before I go into the shadows, I actually bought some Sigma brushes for the first time that I got yesterday, and I'm really excited to try this. So I have the E34, 35, 36, and 39, so these are all blending brushes. So I'm going to start off by using, I think, the smallest one. This is the E34, and it's called the Domed Utility. And I'm going to dip that into the mint green shade, and I'm going to focus that in the inner part of my crease, and that is beautiful. Oh, that is so pretty. And I'm just tapping this on. I have not set my primer. And this will definitely give the most color payoff than if you start going in on a set base. So I prefer doing this with shadows that are very bright. And this is just gorgeous. Look at that. This brush is great for packing on color because it's kind of dense, but it's like round and fluffy at the same time, which I love brushes like this. Like, I can't stand like tapered brushes. I really dislike them. I need my brushes to be like round on top because I just find it to be way more comfortable and easy to not only pack on with, but also blend with. And for the outer part of my lid, I'm gonna go in with this bright green, or like, I don't know if I would call it a bright green, but it's definitely a darker green. And I'm going to start by patting this on and meeting it up with the mint. I'm just going to start blending out the edges, and I'm also going to pull the shade in a little bit, but I'm going to keep it underneath where I put the mint, so I'm not going to cover all of that up. I really love how these shades just blend into each other. They're beautiful. And I really like this brush too. I've heard so many good things about Sigma brushes. I don't know what took me so long, but I'm glad I finally bit the bullet because this is probably going to become one of my favorite brushes to start off an eye look with because this just worked out so well and it was so easy. And to deepen this up in the outer corner, I'm gonna use this last matte shade, which kind of looks more like a brown than a green, but when you look at it up close, it's kind of like a dark olive. So I'm gonna use that and just pack this onto my outer corner. And I could have definitely done this before I put down my last shade, so there's definitely a chance I need to go back in and put a little bit of this on top to be able to blend it out, but that's okay. So I'm mostly focusing this right on the outer corner, but I'm also bringing it in just a little bit, just to make the look blend more seamlessly and look more cohesive. And I'm really packing this color on, like it's not super pigmented, but it is very buildable. And just to bring back a little bit of that green that I feel like we lost, I'm gonna go in with my other Sigma brush, which is just a very, very small fluffy brush. I'm using this to just bring back a little bit of that green, because I'm going to be very precise with this. It's a very fluffy brush though, I will say that. It's almost a little bit too flimsy for me. Like I have one that's very similar from Inglot that I think I like more, but that one's kind of scratchy, so it hurts my eye. But I mean, it still has its purpose, but I don't know if I'll be reaching for it super often. Who knows though? I mean, it could be one of those brushes that just ends up being one of my favorites, so we will see. I'm also going to do that same thing with that mint shade. This is seriously my favorite shade in this palette. It is so unique and so pretty. And all the shades seem to blend very nicely together, so these were all the 3 mattes that are in the palette. I'm going to try to go in with a little bit more of that dark brown greenish shade, but I'm going to mix it with the other green shade and just see if I can get this any deeper. But it doesn't really seem like I'm able to. So this is basically like as deep as you can go with this look, unless you use shimmers in your outer corner, which you can obviously do, but if you're more of like a matte person like myself, then you're probably not going to be able to get it any deeper than this. Which I really do wish that I had one of those shades from like the Subculture palette, one of those really dark green ones. I think that would really make this palette pop. Because I'm not a huge fan of using this shade like as my outer corner shade. So I think for my lid I want to go in with this one because this is like the most impactful one when you look into palette. This is the shade that kind of makes you go, wow, that's going to look so nice and foiled on the lid. So I want to try that out. Actually, now that I look at it on my arm and the swatch, it looks like more of a topper, so I'm not sure if that's going to be the best choice. Maybe I should go in with this one instead, which is the middle shade. I think I'm going to go in with that one instead, and then I'm going to use this one as my inner corner highlight because this is going to be more of like a glittery top coat. So the shade is not picking up super easily on my brush. I had to dig in there quite a few times, so just keep that in mind. It could also be just like you have to get through the first layer, which is sometimes the case with a lot of shimmers. So I'm going to spray this and then pop it onto my lid. Ooh. Oh, that is really, really pretty though. That is pretty. So it's not like the most foiled shade in the world. It is not translucent, like it does have a bit of a base to it, but it's more glittery, and this one is also a little bit more of like a top coat. But I mean, it's obviously opaque, like it still covers up my eyelid, and I didn't have any color underneath it, but it's not like that foiled, like metallic looking wet finish that you get in some other shades, even though it is a beautiful shade, and it's such a good like holiday shade, oh my god. Like this shade for Christmas is everything. And I'm also able to kind of blend this into my crease colors without having any fallout. Like I have not had any fallout at all, and usually when working with shimmers and you try to like kind of blend them out a little bit, you usually get some sparks on your face, but I'm not seeing any, so that's very impressive because usually you do have some fallout. And this shade is just so stunning. I love that shade, oh my god. I'm actually going to try to put a shimmer on my lower lash line, but first I'm just going to go in with a little bit more of that green that we have in the outer corner. And for my lower lash line, I'm going to use this green up here. And I spray this as well because I don't want to have any fallout. And I think if you really wanted to make this pop, you could use some glitter glue on your lower lash line, but I mean, this is working pretty well. And I love this shade too. It is beautiful. So the shimmers in this palette are what I would call buildable. They're not the type who will just go on with like one swipe and be super opaque and in your face, even if you spray your brush. You need to kind of build them up, which I know a lot of people like. If you just want like a sheer wash of glitter on your lid, then you can get that with this palette. You don't have to go really all out like I did today. For my inner corner, I'm now going to try to use that shade that I wanted to use on my lid in the first place. Now the shade is quite crumbly, so I'm not sure if I'll escape this with no fallout, but we're gonna try. And this shade picks up beautifully, even on my little fluffy brush, which is not always the case with shimmers. So I'm gonna put that into my inner corner. And I'm gonna meet it up with the green on the lid. And this is also so beautiful. There's a little bit of fallout, but I mean, that's kind of to be expected, even just looking at that shade in the pan. Like, it is very crumbly, so I'm not really surprised. And you could definitely use a glitter glue with this and avoid that problem, but it's beautiful. And like I said, this is definitely more of like a topper than like a standalone shade, at least for me. I'm probably mostly going to use it as an inner corner highlight unless I put it on my lid with like something light underneath. So I do have a little bit of glitter fallout from that last shade. I mean, it's not too bad, and at least it's not like a matte, because if it's a matte you can't just like swipe it away, but since it's really just a glitter and it doesn't have like a base to it, it's pretty easy to get rid of. So not a big deal at all. I'm super happy actually with the way that these perform. The only two shades I did not use were these two down here, but I will definitely try to get those into a separate video. Let me know if you want to see a 3 looks 1 palette with this. I mean, I know they might look kind of similar in the end, but I definitely wouldn't mind playing more with this now that I have it. I think it's a beautiful palette. It's going to be really good for, honestly, both like the holidays and like summertime. Because of this mint green shade, I feel like I'll be reaching for this one a ton because it's so pretty. So I'm going to finish up the rest of my eyes, and then I will put on a lipstick and we can conclude this video with my final thoughts on this little palette. So here is the final look. In my waterline, I used this green teaspoon pencil by Colourpop, which I love. On my lips is Verona by Ofra, and my mascara today is, I used this little Chanel sample that I got from a friend of mine, and it's okay, I don't mind it. I still think I will always love my Bad Gal Bang, but this did a pretty good job, so happy with that. Yeah, so conclusions on this palette. Obviously, I don't think I can really call this a review since I didn't even use all the shades, but in general, I really love it. The two mattes right here, pretty much blended themselves. They're absolutely beautiful, easy to work with. This matte is not as dark as I would have liked it to be. It was kind of hard to build up like a deep outer corner. So again, that's one of the things that I would complain about with this palette, is that I wish there was a deeper, darker shade that I could really like deepen it up with. And this shade is more like a topper. It's kind of crumbly. It's super nice. Once you get it on, it's beautiful. It does have a little bit of fallout, so just keep that in mind. This shimmer right here is not as much as a foil as it is just like a glittery shadow. Like, it has a lot of glitter to it. I will show you guys close-ups. So it is very glittery. All the shimmers in this palette has a lot of glitter to them. So if you don't like glitter, you're probably not going to like this. If you're more of like that wet look kind of finish on your foil shadows, then this might be a different kind of formula than what you are used to. But in general, I think that the color story in this palette is so beautiful and so unique. And I love that they just stuck to one color. I really wish more brands would come out with stuff like this, because it is so like lacking, I feel like, in the makeup industry right now. So I love this. I am so happy I picked it up. These retail for $27, and with the Sephora VIB sale coming up, you can snag this for I think like $22 or so. So if you've been eyeing any of these little palettes, I would say go for it. I mean, because all the ones that I have had and tried now have been really good. I really enjoy all of them. So that was it for today's video. Let me know if you want to see me do more looks with this, and I can happily do so. If you're new to my channel, I hope you would consider subscribing, and I will see you in my next one. Bye!